Hey, joining you here. So I feel like sometimes my voice isn't very loud. So, working with that. Hello. So today we're going to talk about why it's important to feel and why working with the body is sometimes, not sometimes, probably all the time, more efficient and more effective than working with the mind. And how and why feeling is important to heal. This was something I did not understand for a very long time, and it actually was blocking my progression in my healing because I was not tuned into my body, and even more, I was completely disconnected from my body. My body didn't feel good for the majority of my life. I started suffering from symptoms of chronic fatigue and chronic pain when I went through puberty at the age of 11 or 12. And I started dissociating when I was 5. And so I developed the pattern, like most of us, very early on, that my body couldn't be trusted, and that whatever I was feeling needed to be shut down, and I needed to respond to my outside world for safety. I needed to do whatever I needed to do in order to be safe in my environment. And that most of the time meant that I needed to shut down. I'm going to move this back, sorry. That meant that I needed to shut down what my own body was feeling, emotionally, physically, everything, in order to act or be a certain way, in order to have safety in my environment. And this is the case for a lot of people. And unraveling that pattern is really important because we can't heal what we can't feel, And, now there's a lot of awareness around processing, right? Processing through an emotion. Well, if we are so avoiding that, and we are running this program of don't go there. Do everything you can to sort of skirt around this big heavy emotion or this big feeling or this sensation, then there is no processing through. There's avoidance and bypassing. And I am a big advocate for dismantling the whole bypassing thing. I don't know anyone who's done the level of healing that me and my circle have been doing over the last few years by transmuting, bypassing, non-processing, if that makes sense. So I actually want to bring in a little bit of ancient wisdom to this conversation. And then I'm going to do another video on sort of how we develop this pattern. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of personal examples that I'm working with my own kids, actually, in dismantling this programming that they already have at young ages from when I didn't know, right? I didn't know any better. And so in this video, I want to just kind of bring some light and awareness to how many ancient medicines and wisdoms are using the physical physical qualities of the body as a gauge for healing and for medicine, right? So oftentimes, we have been stripped of this in Western medicine, unfortunately. So I'm going to bring us back to, so actually my first medicine that I worked with before I I was changing my diet, but before I even went into hugely holistic stuff was Ayurveda. And I became an Ayurvedic health coach about 12 years ago. And about 10 years ago, because my daughter was just like, I was pregnant with her. So 11 years ago. And so I want to kind of bring us back to that. And we'll talk a little bit about traditional Chinese medicine as well, because they talk about the qualities of the body as well as a gauge for disease, dis-ease, and healing. So in Ayurveda, we talk about the qualities of the body, the qualities of the herb or foods that we're eating, and the qualities of the environment in order to create harmony and balance. And it's so sad to me that we have been, so I'll talk about sort of societal programming that we've gone on, has happened for us. So we have been very much in a society that overrides all of this. It's like not even important when you go to a doctor and you are talking about what's going on. You might talk about a symptom which you think you feel. Most people, I don't think actually they feel it, but they don't, right? They don't like go into it. Sort of like it's a feeling they might not be able to avoid if it's like severe pain or severe fatigue. There's no questions about going into the feeling, though, into the emotionality behind the physical symptom, of course, like in allopathy. But back in the ancient sciences of Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, we talked about these qualities of the body, okay? So we talked about heat, coldness, right? We can feel. We really were taught in my training to notice the qualities of foods, right? We went through a ton of training in working with herbs and smelling the herbs, tasting the herbs, feeling the herbs. What did everything feel like, right? But this is even deeper. There's even emotionality if we really want to get micro about it. There's emotionality behind the plant, right? Who grew the plant? What was the emotionality and the environment in which the plant was grown? You know, this gets really deep and it's so beautiful. But for us as humans, and I'll say even when I was going through my Ayurvedic training and I was doing these things, I was not in my body yet. I did not understand how to feel. I'm still working with this even now, years later, into learning this modality, right? And understanding my nervous system. So when I was going through my training, most of the time I was thinking about what it would smell like, right? Yes, you can be present and smell something, but you're also thinking about like, what is the smell, you know? I mean, maybe there's like an element of that sort of always feeling, right? But what I wasn't able to do was feel and sense my own body, because that had been cut off from me very, very early in childhood. And I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that I was doing that. And so, or not doing that. I didn't know that I wasn't actually able to feel my internal environment anymore. And so when we would talk about qualities, right? So there's hot and cold, there's oily and dry. There's wet or moist and dry. There's subtle and fluid. There's so many different qualities of things. And when we actually can understand, first of all, our physical sensations. So a lot of people have this sort of coldness to their hands, or they're feeling hot, right? Even just a natural feeling can be overridden a lot of times, and is. But when we think about like physical symptoms, like I said, most people do not go into the emotionality or what transpired before this physical symptom maybe came on, right? So when we think about feelings and emotions, grief, sadness, depression, that kind of all falls under the same category. Refer to my notes. Fear, surprise, anger, right? We actually can feel those things in our body, in a physical part of our body. And these ancient medicines know that they exist in certain organs. And we see this in energy in the chakras. This is so old, not understanding that emotions play a role, and our feelings play a role in our physical body is a very new, very not, I'll say false interpretation of what is happening when we are, if we have disease, or if we're, when we're experiencing something, right? We're like, oh, it's just a physical pain. Let me give it a medicine to take that symptom away. But what is that symptom trying to tell you? What is the emotionality behind that symptom? And that can actually lead to where it may be originating in the body, or where it can be manifesting from in the body. We know that anger is associated with the liver, right? That sort of hot, there's a lot of heat, if I think of sort of redness and sort of that inflamed, hot red, when you think of anger. Grief is often held in the chest, right? We think about that heart chakra and the lungs. In Ayurveda, the lungs are always, there's always an element of grief if lungs comes up, right? And then we too, like when you go to an ancient medicine person, they're like reading they're checking your pulse. They're looking at your tongue. And they're connecting what emotion is behind it by how the physicality of the body is manifesting. So it's this beautiful transmission, I guess, of the reading and learning how to then provide the medicine. But the emotionality and the sensations, they are not separate in those medicines. They're always there. They have to be considered. And so when we go into sort of these newer modalities of like somatic nervous system work, that's what we're working with. Like that, we're actually drawing some aspects of these ancient medicines, which I think is so amazing and beautiful. We don't talk about that necessarily, right? Like, I don't know that I'm not sure if Peter Levine like discusses that type of stuff. But if we really think about what's happening, he's going in, it's from here down most of the time what he's working with the body, right? My teacher and mentor, Irene Lyon, I'm going to link a video that I got some of my information for this video from her video. I always want to make sure I am crediting her because she's my teacher. And she has an amazing YouTube channel. If you haven't looked at it already, go and check that out. And her courses are amazing as well. I can link those too. So feeling is important. Not always just feeling the qualities, but that might be how it starts. Let's say a person is like, I can try to feel, but I'm still thinking about feeling. And that is a distinction to be made. That's important. Are you actually able to go into the body and feel? Or are you thinking about feeling? And then once you can actually go down into the body and feel the sensations of the body, where are you holding this physical sensation, right? What part of the body is coming up that you are able to sense? And then oftentimes there's an emotional component to it. And so from there, how can we be with that? You know what I mean? How can we learn to be with that sensation and feeling without trying to just instantly avoid it? And in my trainings, what we really started with, for people who like really weren't able to feel, myself being one of them, is like, can we tend to our body when we're cold? Can we tend to our body when we're hot? Can we pause in our day and say, oh, like I'm uncomfortable right now. Like most of us just override. We're moving so fast in this society and our world that we are overriding just normal sensations. You know, can I feel my bladder when it's full and when I need to go to the bathroom? You know, am I putting a million other things in front of my own body impulses and sensations and what I need to do for myself? So that's just like some really easy beginning. Well, I'm calling them easy. They might not be that easy for you, but it is a nice way in the beginning to notice, oh, I do that. Like I do that thing where like I have to go to the bathroom, but I'm not allowing myself to feel that and tend to my needs. So that's really important information, you know? And so then how can you actually tune into the body of how you feel and tend to those needs? So just going back to how we might think about how we feel rather than actually feeling. A good way to do this is when I say to you, you just pause right now and take a moment and just try to feel your body, right? Try to feel your feet on the ground. Try to feel your bum on the chair or couch or whatever you're sitting on. I like to take my hands and put them on my legs and just feel the fabric of my pants, right? And then to go even deeper, so we'll just pause there and just feel, right? Just see if you can actually feel. You can even like give yourself kind of a little squeeze. When I first started doing this, I actually couldn't feel my arms. I couldn't feel them with my hands. Again, that's just important information, you know? And so see if you can actually feel and not think, trying to intellectualize what you think it should feel like. That piece is really, really important. And then once you can kind of get a sense of that, how much you can actually feel your body below your neck, the next piece is, what is the emotion that's happening within me at any given moment, right? Like whenever I would tune in I always kind of, there is a natural sense and response for me to go between heart and sacral, probably most people. But a lot of people that I work with energy are cut off from their root and their legs. They're just cut off. There's no connection. And so that's also important. Can you feel your legs? Can you have a sense of the tendons and the ligaments and the blood, the circulation that's going through your body down into your legs? Can you feel the movement of that? Can you feel a vibration that kind of happens in the body? Can you feel that? Right? And then so these are amazing things to sort of play with. And then beyond that, what is the emotion? Where is there an emotion that's kind of tucked itself away? And can you locate that emotion in the body? And where might that be? So, a lot of I've heard this saying, I love it, that we can't heal what we can't feel. And when we want to get into the work of processing and releasing, a lot of people found my Instagram page from a post that I did, where I'm like releasing a lot of anger. And people really want to know how I did that, and they want information about that. The main thing to understand with that, and that's kind of more advanced-ish stuff, but I didn't just go into that without knowing how to get my body, keep my body here on earth, stay connected to my body and my breath. And I had to move through and not be afraid to feel the big emotions that were coming up. And so a lot of people want to do that. And then also there's kind of a fear of going there, right? Of actually feeling it. You can't go through the motions of releasing anger without feeling the anger. You know what I mean? And I want to say it actually is really, really powerful to slow some of that down and really feel it happening. But this is a very scary thing for a lot of people, because they have been avoiding, probably for decades, feelings because they are very uncomfortable and because they were taught to just ignore and rise above or move on or be tough or be strong or all the stories. Be good, don't cry, don't this. And so actually being able to drop in and feel what is happening and where that is held in the body is something that we want to avoid at all costs. It's like we want to release and we want to do this spiritual work of releasing all this emotion and blah, 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 but we don't want to feel it. It's like you can't. You know what I mean? The work is in the feeling it. That's actually where the work is. Then the natural organic process of releasing it comes. All right. I will continue some more on this topic later. This was pretty heavy today. And I will link an amazing video on feeling of Irene Lyon's down below. Like and comment if you liked, and I'll see you soon.